This happened to my older brother. When he was a college student, he joined a mountain climbing club. One day, he went climbing in the high mountains located in South Korea with 3 of his club members. The mountain was so high up that they couldn't climb all the way up in just a day, so they decided to stop by one of the mountain cabins in the mountainside and take a rest. It was a 2-story cabin, and unfortunately, the electricity was disconnected that day. Well, you know, people usually don't go to sleep early on days like that. So my brother and his friends drank a lot of alcohol, turned on a flashlight, and accidentally lit it up towards the wall. On the wall, there were framed pictures of the 1st, 2nd, and other mountain guards. Everyone was giggling because of the face in one of the pictures. Then they fell asleep. The next morning when my brother woke up, he noticed that 2 of the club members had already gone down the mountain, and there was only one left behind. He had fainted, and froth was coming out of his mouth. He looked around in confusion, wondering what was going on. He saw something he could not believe. The cabin was surrounded by small windows. Well then, what the heck was there last night if what they thought were photo frames were actually windows? When I was a little girl, I was scared of sleeping alone, so I used to sleep with my mom. Eventually, I had to toughen up and sleep by myself. Well, this happened when I was in high school. I had a twin-size bed in my room and decided to leave both my door and my mom's door open. Our bodies were facing opposite directions. I couldn't sleep that night, so I turned on my MP3 player and was laying in bed, listening to music. All of a sudden, I felt a little strange, so I turned my head around, and at that moment, I froze. I saw a person's foot on my mom's body. First of all, if someone gets too nervous, it's hard to look around clearly. However, I slowly looked up, and then I saw the face of the person standing on her body. Literally, someone was standing on my mom's body. Well, it was the worst thing I've ever seen. I wanted to turn my head around again, but I couldn't. I couldn't open my mouth or even listen to music anymore. I couldn't take my eyes off his face. His mouth was stretching and getting bigger and bigger until eventually it ripped right under his ear. I could see that the inside of his mouth was all red. I wanted to wake my mom up somehow, so I gathered up enough courage as I could. "Mom!" As soon as I yelled, everything disappeared like smoke. She ran into my room, hugged me, and reassured me that everything was okay. I was leaning on her now, so that I could calm down. Soon after, I put my earphones back in and turned on my MP3 player. And that moment was really crazy and just plain scary. All of my files were gone. I had around 300 songs on the device, but all the songs were erased for no reason. I couldn't sleep at all that night and still felt bad even after waking up the next morning, so I ended up breaking my MP3 player. Well, why did my music files disappear? I used to wear a lot of wigs for my job. One day I needed a short bob cut wig, so I bought one and kept it at my house for a while. But then, something strange happened. The next day, my mom suddenly came into my room and said this. "Hey, why do you keep calling me?" "Huh? What are you talking about, Mom? I haven't called you once." I replied to her, but she insisted that she kept hearing my voice. It was kind of weird, but soon I ended up thinking that she was just hearing things or hallucinating. A few days later, while I was eating dinner with my mom and watching a TV drama, we heard a small voice. "Mommy!" What the? I stood up, and what made things scarier was the voice sounding exactly like mine. At first, I thought I misheard it, but I kept hearing the sound. I grabbed my mom's hand, and we followed the direction the sound was coming from. As I was getting closer to the shoe rack near the front door, I realized the sound seemed to be coming from it. It was at that moment. "Mom!" The loud sound in my ears surprised me so much that my heart almost dropped. Well, eventually I went back to my room and fell asleep, failing to reveal the cause of the sound. That night, I had a dream. In my dream, little girls were jumping rope and moving in slow motion, like in a horror movie. I couldn't see their faces because the children's faces were all blurry, as if they were covered by fog. However, as soon as I tried to reach them, they looked at me at the same time. At that moment, I had no choice but to scream. Their fronts and backs were all covered by a bob cut hairstyle. Well, I had the same dream for a few more days. My mom and I concluded that there was something wrong with the bob cut wig that I bought. Eventually, I burned the wig. And strangely enough, everything returned to normal after I burned the wig.